And welcome back, Daily Caller reporter Chrissy Clark. Republican strategist Aaron Perrine is here, and so is Jack Brewer, retired NFL player and entrepreneur. So, Chrissy, this battle is certainly not over. We thought maybe the incident in Loudoun County where you had these rape charges would put a stop to this. But now the Biden administration threatening to withhold school lunch funding over this. Are you serious?
Yeah, and this is something that affects, of course, predictably minorities that are not going to be able to get school lunch funds then. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It has the inverse effect of what they are expecting this to happen. It's pathetic, to be honest. I can't believe that this is happening. But at the same time, what we're going to see out of this is not anything that's unpredictable. We're already seeing it before these rules are implemented right now. In Wisconsin, we're seeing 3 13-year-old boys that are being accused of sexual harassment for using she, her pronouns to a student that goes by they, them pronouns. This is a real thing. This is not something we're making up here. And yeah, that's the predictable response to all of this. And to be making this contingent on lunch money, I mean, that's the most awful.
So I think it's one of the cruelest things you could do, especially just like you talked about. It's the kids who can least afford to have their money withheld from them are they're going to be the victims of this. And Aaron, they're using the Obama-era interpretation of Title IX that stated transgender students must be allowed to use the restroom, locker room, shower facility that matches their gender identity. And this USDA memo goes on to say, quote, under the leadership of the Biden-Harris administration, USDA and Food and Nutrition Services are issuing this interpretation to help ensure its programs are open, accessible, and help promote food and nutrition security regardless of demographics. I mean, what in the world does gender identity have to do with a healthy school lunch?
Or a healthy school lunch or access to food. I mean, when did Joe Biden become such a bully? I mean, we're not talking about corn pop anymore. We're talking about the fact that he's saying little boys should go into the bathroom with little girls, and if you don't allow that to happen, then I'm going to take your school lunch money. I mean, it's not satire. That is what he is talking about here. And we need to make sure that we don't let the Biden administration get away with this, because what they are trying to do now is further push this indoctrination of the fact that there are what they want to believe is this huge growing population of children who are transgender. That is a false narrative that the left continues to push. And now they're threatening to hurt those among us who need the help the most, children who are disproportionately affected by school lunch programs. If you remember back when schools were shut during COVID, the Trump administration and Republicans fought to make sure that low-income communities still had access to meals, even with school shut down, because it is so critical. For some kids, breakfast and lunch, they only get it at school, and Joe Biden wants to take that away from them. It is disgusting, and it really has no place in this country.
The sad irony here, Jack, is you can't learn about anything, whether it's the less transgender agenda or any of this other crap they want to shove down kids' throats, if you're hungry and starving.
No, it's a sad moment. I mean, think about it. You have so many underserved kids, as we always know. We just talked about fatherlessness, and you have kids that are in poverty, really in the United States of America, where they don't always know where their next meal is coming from, and start to push this type of agendas onto these vulnerable minds. And that's what it's about. You're really affecting the most vulnerable people with this indoctrination. And so whenever you have this type of messaging coming from the White House, you're normalizing this type of behavior. You're normalizing this confusion and this spiritual recklessness that they're pushing upon this nation. That's why we see incidents that just happen. That's why we continue to see these things. No one wants to focus on these root causes. Call a spade a spade. In school, you should be teaching that boys are boys and girls are girls, and allow a kid to figure out whatever he's going to do when he gets to be an adult, not when they're in 5th grade or 5 or 6 or 7 years old. This is no place for you to start having children.
You see this confluence of it coming from government and from popular culture now. I mean, we've got Barbie now with a transgender Barbie doll, trans actress Laverne Cox from Orange is the New Black. She has her own Barbie doll. Aaron, when do teens play with Barbie dolls still? I mean, all people, I think, are asking here is to leave their kids alone until they at least reach the appropriate age to start talking about sex and gender. And don't try to cash in on the sexuality of children. This is all very gross.
It is really gross. And actually, Bill Maher had a great segment on his show Friday where he really went through what's going on in our culture when it comes to persuading children that they might be a different gender or not. He was talking about how if you're in LA at a dinner table, you might be sitting there with a group of 10 and there will be multiple parents at that table talking about how they have trans kids, versus if you're in Ohio and maybe you won't have that conversation with anybody, how it really is looking like it's falling along the lines more of political persuasion than it does on actual gender ideology and what people actually want to be when they grow up. And, you know, he made a point that I actually thought was very salient and to this. He said, if everybody wanted to be what they were when they were a kid, we'd have a world full of cowboys and princesses. And that's just not the reality, because when you're young, it is different than when you grow up. We shouldn't be pushing this kind of indoctrination on children.
Yeah, I would be Top Gun. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up. But, you know, didn't have what it takes, obviously, to do that. So I'm here on TV with you guys. But, you know, this is a great point. And, Aaron, I'm glad you mentioned that segment from Bill Maher, because we talked about that on Monday. And this is why I want to focus on Disney Plus, because they are also pushing this agenda on kids. They had a drag queen special for kids, and Christopher Rufo, who's done so much great work on this, pointed it out. Disney Plus promoted a drag queen special for kids, encouraged them as young as kindergarten to join the gender identity and trans activist organization GLSN. Here's a clip of that.
I'm Nina West, and I'm here to guide you through a magical, musical, and meaningful celebration of the LGBTQ plus community. GLSN's mission is to create safe and inclusive schools for LGBTQ plus students in grades K through 12. And Disney Plus is so proud to support this wonderful organization.
I mean, you know, there are very specific rules and regulations about what type of commercials are supposed to, you know, be broadcast to your kids. Disney Plus, because it's a streaming service, doesn't fall under those same FCC regulations. But it also reminds us of something else that Christopher Rufo pointed out. He previously reported on Disney executive Carrie Burke, who says she has 2 queer kids. Now, statistically, Chrissy, the chances of that happening are like slim to none. So again, it shows you kind of how this transgender culture is self-perpetuating.
Absolutely. And I did a big deep dive reporting on how Disney has actually been partnering with GLSN, that LGBT organization, for about 20 years now. They do a line of pride paraphernalia for kids and parents to get, even for your dog. You can get little pride bandanas for your dog, so your gay dog. I don't understand. But you can, this is something that's been perpetuated for 20 plus years. It's not new. The problem is that they're being more open about it. And while they're being more open about it, they're subtly putting it into programming. Parents used to be able to just hand their kid an iPad or turn on Disney Plus and not be worried about what the child was learning. No more. Yeah. No more. And so I think Disney Plus is going to see, you know, that subtly going down. We're seeing that nationwide. State Farm had just had an intervention. They were working with a LGBT organization, sending books to kids as young as 5 years old. And after State Farm announced that they had dropped from that programming, we're now seeing tons of other companies, 22 brands now dropping completely from this organization, the Gender Cool Project. So this is a problem, but it's one that I think stakeholders and that are the American people are calling for end to.
Well, I think they thought they were going to create a new group of consumers. I mean, this is really about the color green more than any color on that rainbow flag, but it's backfiring on them right now. They're learning State Farm, Disney. They're going to learn these lessons the hard way. Aaron, Chrissy, Jack, great conversation. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, the